Imagine yourself a year from now graduating, congratulations, and thinking about doing a master's degree, right? Why not? I'll tell you why. One, we pay you to go to school. It's true. Right now you're paying all that tuition, you're thinking, gosh, school's so expensive, you're racking up student loans. The most important thing I want you to know is that for full-time students in our master's program, we offer funding of $18,000 over 2 years. And out of that $18,000, you have to pay tuition, which is about $1,800 a term. Okay? So it's like a good deal. It's like a whole new ball game, graduate school. We pay you to go to school. And so that usually is like the #1 barrier for people thinking about why to do a master's. They don't want to incur more debt. I'm happy to tell you that I would be very happy to pay you to come and study with us. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, I want to talk to you a little bit about the master's program and why you might think about doing a master's degree with us, or a master's degree in general, frankly. You know, there's a couple of things. I'll say on the professional side, a master's degree, it's not like a teaching degree, so it doesn't certify you to do anything in particular, but it does open up lots of professional opportunities. So if you're thinking about becoming a principal one day, if you're interested in working in the board as a curriculum developer, if you want to move outside of compulsory schooling and do education-related work in the community, in art galleries, in museums, in the corporate sector, I mean, a master's degree really can open up some very interesting doors for you in that regard. Policy work. We have alumni all over in all of the boards and working in all sorts of different cool places. The Ontario Science Centre, the Art Gallery of Ontario, children and youth serving organizations, community health centers. So really a master's degree is a way to kind of leverage your experience in the BEd and move it into some new directions. So professionally, we think it makes a lot of sense. Personally, I sort of think of a master's degree as a chance, like imagine you're sitting in class over the next year or two and someone asks a really good question that really kind of gets you going, you know? And you're like, damn, that's a good question. I'd like to think more about that. But then, you know, next week you're reading 3 more articles and you kind of have to leave that question behind to kind of go do something else. The master's is a chance to kind of sit with a question for a longer period of time. To really think about, you know, you're learning how to do lesson plans, you're, you know, having color-coded calendars for God's sake. You can't keep track of everything you're supposed to do, right? But a master's is sort of like stepping up above that busyness and being able to ask the big questions about education. You know, about the relationship between education and social inequality, about why do we do assessment this way, you know, and not this way, about the history of education. Why do we even have public schools? So all of these really big questions that you may have kind of been feeling out in your BEd courses, the master's is a great chance to kind of ask those questions in a more sustained way. So those are kind of two broad categories of reasons to do a master's. The master's program can be done in a single calendar year. There are 3 ways to do the master's. You can do 8 courses. You can do 6 courses and write what we call a major research paper, which is sort of like an undergraduate thesis. It's sort of like a chunky piece of independent work. Or you can do 4 courses and do a more traditional master's thesis, which is a bigger piece of independent research. Most of our students actually do 8 courses. And in fact, most of our students are people just like you, who are sitting in the BEd program and thinking, what am I going to do? There's no jobs. I think I'll spend a year getting my master's. One, because they hope it makes them more competitive on the market, but also because they really love York and they love the kinds of work and thinking that they do here, and they're sad to leave us. So that may be you. And if it is, I want to talk to you. you can, one thing that I think is also important to tell you, and it goes along with the paying you to go to school thing, is that you can work as a supply teacher and do your master's full-time. Most of our students who are full-time do work at some, either a supply teacher, some have LTOs, some are working part-time, some are working not in teaching but in other places. All of our courses, not all, but the vast majority are offered in the evenings from 5:30 to 8:30 to accommodate people who are working during the day. And so lots of people, while they're trying to get on the supply lists, do their master's full-time at the same time. So if you have a big question, if you have like something that you're really interested in, a master's may be a good place for you to come and explore that question. Now, I do want to tell one anecdote, because I think that the other piece is that you don't really need to know what you want to do in order to do a master's. If you just like school, that's probably good enough. So every fall we have an open house for master's students, for potential master's applicants, excuse me. And they're very busy and they're very fun, and we serve cookies and so on and answer questions. And so keep an eye out for that. Facebook, Grad Ed Yorku, that's the name of the page. I already got 7 new likes since this morning when I gave this presentation at the first advising session. Yay. So pull out, I don't care if you're texting, if you're following us on Facebook. So last year at this open house, I met these 2 young women, both independently. They didn't know each other. But both of them were, just like you, about to graduate from the B.Ed program, and thought, well, you know, one of them was dragged to the open house by her friend, didn't really want to do a master's. The other one was a bit more keen. Anyways, they both applied and both got in to do the master's full-time. And they arrived, not really knowing what they wanted to do. One of them was interested in the Westview Project, which is a partnership we have with some schools in the Jane Finch community. The other young woman was, her family, she was sort of interested in refugee issues. Her family had arrived in Canada as refugees, and so now she was thinking a bit more about that. Just as a coincidence, they both got assigned to work with Don Dippo, a faculty member who does research and runs this project called the Borderless Higher Education Project for Refugees, which is providing teacher training to refugees in Kenya, in the camps. And he has this big project. Many universities are involved, many faculty are involved, and they sort of just started going to meetings, seeing if they could help out. This was in September. You know, and they were keen. They kind of like, it wasn't for course credit, they were just keen. Anyway, they kept working with him. They did an independent study with him on the issues that he was exploring in this project. And now, one, which I think is most important, they become very good friends to each other. It's important to make friends at school. But 2, he's sending them to Kenya next week. So as part of their master's education, not next week, at the end of term, in April, they're flying to Kenya to teach in a refugee camp alongside one of our doctoral students and a few course directors. And that is just like an accident of having arrived and kind of made use of the resources that our program offers. And we have hundreds of stories like that, where people arrive, they don't have any big question, but they have a, you know, they're open. And they just kind of hook on to something, and then the world, you know, they kind of take a left turn, and all of a sudden they're in Kenya. Or we have another master's student who's on her way to Germany to spend the summer studying environmental education at Freiburg University, because apparently Freiburg is very eco-something. I don't know. So this stuff happens all the time. The master's program's really flexible. It allows you to kind of take an idea and go with it. But if you don't have an idea, I promise you'll find one there. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. Oh, I know. I, of course, want you to apply to do a master's with us, because I believe sincerely that we have the best master's program in Ontario for sure, if not the country. That said, I'm very happy. I think you should, if you are thinking about a master's, I think you should dream big. And you shouldn't apply just to York. You should, imagine yourself into the world of graduate school and say, where do I want to end up? I think, frankly, a master's degree is a good chance to move to a cool city that you always wanted to live in. So this year I worked with a couple of B.Ed students who applied really widely. One just got an offer at UBC and at Ottawa, and she's waiting to see if she has offers in North Carolina and Chicago. And she applied to York. But I'm happy to work with you. If you want to dream big around the master's thing and use it as an opportunity to kind of go somewhere, try some things out, I'm happy to meet with you and help you craft a really nice application. So this is all to say, keep this in the back of your mind. Next fall, if you're thinking about this, feel free to come by and meet with me. I'm on the second floor, Winters, 282. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. I'm not as great a Twitterer as I am a Facebooker, a tweeter. There you go. Proof of that. So, does that make sense? If you do decide that you want to do a master's degree, the federal government and the provincial government both offer very large scholarships, competitive scholarships, and the applications are due in the fall. And those scholarships are worth almost $20,000, and they follow you. So even if you decide to go to UBC, you take the money with you. Okay, but we run workshops to help people apply for those scholarships. And I'd be happy to talk to you about that. So think, mid-September, you're back into the groove, you pop by, talk about it, and follow us on Facebook. You'll see our open house. You can stop by the open house, hear more about that. This year I've done a few, rather poorly attended Twitter chats because I'm not a Twitterer. But next year I know you will help keep me company during those hours. So follow us and you'll get more information that way.